Would you consider it supporting the industry if you import the original Japanese versions?
There are a bunch of people that attacked me recently because I said I don't care, as provided you're buying a legal source. And I was called a hypocrite because he tells you not to break the law on one thing. I have never, I'll state this for the record, I have never engaged in my battle with piracy because I think you should never break the law or anything like that. I've never been that person. I love anime, and I'm pro anything that's pro-industry. I don't want the anime industry to go away because I don't want to be stuck watching the same old shows 20 years from now. I want new shows. I want people still going to conventions 20 years from now. If you can find a legal way to import DVDs from Japan, I know that's a contradiction in terms sometimes, but I will state that imported DVDs from China are not official DVDs. If they're Japanese DVDs and it's buying something that's not released here or something you think will never be released here, I have absolutely no problem with it. The companies that produce that DVD are still making the money off of it. I don't have a problem with that. There are a lot of people that use that argument, though, for buying Hong Kong discs and, discs from Korea, and those are absolutely not. The only reason I would tell you not to do that with shows that are out, unless you're a collector. There are some people like David Williams collects complete sets, and there are some things that he wanted, like at one time I think he wanted the entire D and Angel, because they released it, there was a boys version and a girls version they released in Japan. It's totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. A boys version and a girls version. But there are special, just like we have collector's sets and things like that, there are just as many of those in Japan, like the Ava Memorial box that never came to the States. Like, that's one of those, special things. But the Japanese DVDs, as you can attest, if it's something you could buy here, are much more expensive, correct? I would say if you can find an American distributor, usually it is ridiculously cheaper. And I didn't realize that until I went to Europe and I wanted to buy music. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy a bunch, because I'm a DJ, and I was like, oh, I'm going to buy music. Things that I could buy here for $12 were like $27 over there. I'm like, it's not an import over here, it's made here, but it's just the pricing structure. So if you can find it, by all means find it here, because it's probably cheaper. But if it's a collector's thing and you want to have like every Gundam DVD, then knock yourself out. Like, have fun with that. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I've really noticed the decline in manga companies too. Like, I like S.
Mm-hmm.
The anime was S otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't really explain things, so I looked for the S manga.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, Broccoli House, or I think that's the name of them.
Yeah.
They went down.
Yeah.
And only 1 through 4 came to the U.S. There's 16
Yeah.
in Japan.
Believe it or not, there's 23 volumes of Beck, too, but Tokyopop refuses to release anything past 12, which makes me more than a little unhappy. But there is also, like, my friends that have been collecting Rave Master, it's like 36 or 37 volumes, and the company stopped printing manga at 34. So they're like, yeah. So it's really weird. Well, it's supposedly the company that just bought the rights, because Viz just got the rights to it, I think. They're going to go back and they're going to release those last two, and then go back and start releasing their own version. But with manga companies, it's really hard because there are so many things beating up on manga companies. One, speaking of the number one, how many of y'all know about a certain online manga reader that went down this year? I love them wrapping themselves in a cloak of noble construct. Well, apparently the anime and manga industry have changed their position on scanlation. No, you just got caught. That's all there is to it. They never supported what you do. And in fact, the mangaka have been vocal this year. Like, how many of you saw Toboso's remarks about people reading Black Butler online? And the very crappy thing is, what did fans do to her? They attacked her. They crucified her online. So much so that a group of mangaka got together to defend her and publicly discussed how they would like to see people that make their stuff online meet their end. And the creator of Hellsing was very descriptive and very wrong. I'll just leave it at that. You can go find it. Yeah.
There's a recording of this?
No, I think it's a transcript of it, but it's hysterical. It's hysterical.
Like a URL or
You know where I find all of this? Anime News Network. Their stories, the stories they run, they have always been super fast getting information from Japan and information about like when the studios in Japan there were 3 studios went bankrupt in Japan and they had that information less than 24 hours after it happened. So if I can dig through it, because my only link to it, I posted the link on my Facebook. So if I can dig back down through the archives of my Facebook, I'll find the URL and I'll write it down while I'm here. So if you see me later, because I've got another panel. I don't know if you want to come to my panel at 7, but I'll be around all weekend and I'm not easy to miss. I'm gonna stand out. So if I can find it, I'll definitely write the URL down for you. Because the conversation was really hysterical. The conversation, like and the funny thing is, as gross as what the creator for of Hellsing said, he went back and retracted it and said that was not a fast enough death. And so then he wished for a simultaneous lightning strike. He was really, they were very verbal about how they would like to see these people meet their end. And I think it's really good, and I think unfortunately a group of us that really support their work and their art are not the voices that are being heard when things like this are said. What we're hearing is that whining, slobbering mob that just wants everything for free and feels they're entitled to everything. And unfortunately, I think we have to lift our voices a little louder than them, because right now that's the message that gets across. Yeah?
I know everything's online, but a lot of times when I'm reading online, it's because get really into the series if I get the first book and it comes out so much faster online. And so I will oftentimes read things online because it tends to buy them. And it bothers me when people won't buy it, but I think online scanlations are really good for getting into a series. If you find a series online and you fall in love with it, then buying it.
Let me pose an ethical question to you then.
Sure.
If, let's say, and I'll use Moriyama just because he's a really cool mangaka, and it's not that he's unknown, but let's go back about 8 or 9 years and say Moriyama would really love to find a US distributor for something like Chrono Crusade. Why would Tokyopop, who is a business, they have to make a profit, why would they pick up a new manga from an artist that not too many people know of if you can get a postscript quality copy of it online for free? It's a really slippery slope argument. And I actually am more passionate about the manga side of it than the anime, because when you steal from the anime industry, you're stealing from lots of different people. You're ultimately hurting yourself, but when you steal from a mangaka, it's one person, and it represents a very large body of work and a very long time period put into it. I think actors don't make a lot of money. Artists make half of what we make, so that's not a lot at all. And I know, because I've talked to mangaka about this very situation, they said, because the American market has nothing to the equivalent of the doujinshi market, you only have the option of self-publishing, which is impossible to self-publish from Japan, or finding a distributor. And distributors are gun shy of things that are online because the product is already damaged. The product is already half seen or completely seen in some cases. So it's the reason I think it would be fine if all scanlations were pulled off the internet for all time. And people get mad when I say that, but it's just like getting bootleg out of the dealer's room. The minute you take the dealer's room and stop making it a flea market and see who's got the cheapest stuff, then all of us collectors will see really hard to find, really expensive, really cool things again. Yeah.
Well, I was just wondering, do you think there's a solution, sort of, the digital answer that anime has gotten, streaming online to manga?
You know what? There was at one point, there was this thing that Sony was involved with, and I really had high hopes for it. It was Manga Book or something like that, and I've not heard anything of it taking off, but it was a really, really great idea. They were putting original raw manga online, and the cool thing about it is kids that spoke Japanese natively could compete for the best translation, and then you could buy the translations for those manga. I think that's a really cool market, and it promotes people who want to translate and do work, of that type.
Because, yeah, so a lot of the Japanese magazines do post their chapters online.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but it's hard to, unless you speak or read, it's hard to get that. Yeah, let me get her first, and then I'll get you.
I was just thinking one of the things like Google Books is a solution to the literary industry.
Yeah.
You can preview and read a certain number of pages, just because one of the arguments I've heard is that it's hard to find things in the sense of finding things you like. And
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So if the mangaka released half of the first chapter or something as a preview.
Yeah. Oh, I think there are definitely workable solutions. I think the problem is the minute someone releases, like, say one chapter of a manga or like the first 10 pages, because we all know sometimes it takes, you have to get a little further into it before you really get hooked. The problem with that is kind of the argument that the fan subbers have always given, that they're promoting the show, but the people that do scanlations never do just the first 5 page. If there was some way to get an official like Kodansha to do the first 10 pages of every manga available in a viewer, and then you could order it, I think that would be a wonderful solution, or at least take the wind out of that argument. And that's, yeah.
Tokyopop actually does post a lot of stuff, previews and stuff on that.
Yeah. Do they have that for their entire library, or is it just selected stuff?
I was looking at a few stuff on their website, and I just noticed a few things I was looking at did, so I can't speak for all of them, but I know
I'll definitely go check it out. I've stopped visiting their site after getting upset about Beck, but I'll definitely go check it out, because if they're doing that, then we can kind of take the wind out of that argument. Yeah.
I know Square-Enix is doing some e-manga thing where they're going to be releasing Spiral, Fullmetal Alchemist, and various other manga that they own.
I love that company. I'll just state that for the record. I love Square-Enix. I think they do so many things right business-wise that I wish we could have the management of Enix manage like the entire anime industry, and we would be okay. I might not work in it, and that would be fine, but at least I know there would be plenty of stuff coming out. They have announced that it's going to be online.
Yeah, it's
okay, good.
Manga.
That's
you can
cool.
See it if you go to their website. It's not out yet, I don't think, but they're working on it.
That's really cool. That's one of the solutions I wanted for Beck, actually. You know, because Tokyopop has the rights to the entire manga, like the entire thing, the entire collection, but are only releasing up through volume 12. Well, the problem is that sends a horrible message to kids who bought 1 through 12. Then what are you telling them? To go download the scanlations or read it illegally online? And an official translation can be done in days and could be made available as like a digital PDF, like a download, for like maybe not $10, but like $3 or $4. I pay $3 or $4 to read the rest of Beck, you know, and that's a workable solution. I don't know why that hasn't happened, and I think the reason Enix can do it is because they have the rights to those things, and they're like, well, these are things we have the rights to, we're going to do this. I know that many cases when it comes to putting anything online, when it goes back to Japan, they say absolutely not. Because, and I know this is not just with manga, but with digital media and everything. Like when we were working on Beck, at one point, there was a chance that Beck would be a part of Gibson's national ad campaign that year, which would have been effing cool. I don't care what anybody says, it would have been beneficial to the show. But Kodansha is not okay with anybody streaming any of their media. So that became a sticking point. So sometimes it has to do with the fact that, you know, Japan doesn't want it online because some people, and I think, you know, due to the One Piece debacle and the recent thing that happened on ANN, in some ways we've proven that there's not a way to totally safeguard it, and that it may leak. So it's really tough.
And manga would be harder because it's just an image. It's not a
Yeah. Oh, that's the problem with manga. Once it's out, it's out. Like once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. So it's like a naked celebrity photo. Once it exists, it's everywhere. So you can count on me to have the wrong analogy at the right time.